Welcome to day 91 of our BitClout journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein here with my twin brother, Brian, and we have a special guest. You know him as Reed, R-E-A-D-E on BitClout. And today there's a little bit of news, but not too much. Three main things that took place on BitClout today are the introduction of QR codes. So now if you go to your wallet and click on send, you'll see your own unique QR code. And you can basically use this to have people send clout to you. So say me and Reed are out to dinner and he forgets his credit card. And I pay the bill and he wants to, go halvesies with me. I can say, hey, look, here's my QR code. Just send me some clout to my QR code. And he can scan it with his camera on his phone. Will bring up the page to pay my BitClout account. And he can send me the money in BitClout, which is really cool. So that's one new feature. The other new feature is images. Images on BitClout are now larger. If you post an image and then click on it, you're going to see it expands. And I think that's really cool. I think that probably has something to do with the upcoming NFTs on the platform. It's going to be interesting to see how that whole system's implemented. But I think a lot of artists and even non-artists are really excited about NFTs coming to the platform. And the third new feature, I guess I should say change, is that if you start a new account on BitClout, you can no longer lower your founder reward unless you own some of your own coin. So you have to buy at least a penny of your own coin now in order to lower your founder reward. I think this is going to help with onboarding, especially probably artists that come on the platform for NFTs. It kind of allows you to push the notion that you should at least own some of your own coin, and it prevents them from, opening up their account by lowering the founder reward and having bots come in and buy their coin before they can. So I think they're all great changes, and I think we're probably going to see some more changes in the weeks ahead as NFTs are implemented on the platform. So what's your take, Reed?
So yeah, there's a lot of change, right? There's a lot of things moving forward now. I think the platform's starting to develop itself into, being this ecosystem for NFTs. Well, not yet, but eventually down the line, the idea that you can communicate. But I think the biggest thing, one of the big problems that we've had so far is onboarding. And it's actually more like signing up for new accounts, people having multiple accounts, bots, I think are a huge problem. This is one of those things I'm a huge fan of because one, you have to respect decentralization. So the idea that like bots are going to exist are always going to exist, but you actually make it tougher. Like you put people in a position where it's like, oh, I just got to buy my own coin, but maybe now there's more of a reason to by explaining it to them prior. So I think that, yeah, that's been a huge challenge, especially I'm sure you guys with the same thing. Like sometimes when I buy somebody's coin, there's like a million other accounts going into that coin right after. So it's kind of interesting to see that kind of play out. I think that will always occur just because of like your presence on the platform. But it does kind of really, put this like day trading spot on it, because if you go back to the account 3 hours later, all those accounts are kind of like wiped out. They've kind of just used it for day trading. But yeah, I think the NFT thing is going to be really interesting. I can't really comment much on it, but the idea that your coin holders are going to be receiving funds off of the sales means a lot, in the sense that if you can't afford, let's say, a $1 million NFT, well, you could actually get the benefits of buying into the fact that that he or she is going to launch a successful NFT. And I think that changes the game in the space, not just the social token ecosystem, but like the creator economy as a whole, where you're going to see people that are priced out of owning maybe one full coin, or maybe owning a full NFT, or a one of one, where they could still reap the benefits of having a fractional share of a coin, or having a dividend, let's say, off of a large NFT purchase, because they have another reason to invest. There's another use case for owning these creator coins. And that's why I'm super bullish on creator coins itself, is because the underlying value of them are BitClout tokens. So owning the tokens is already a plus. The idea that you can kill two birds with one stone and double dip on investing in really good talent, but also being able to receive dividends, I think will bring just like a new set of eyeballs on what I'm looking for, what everyone else is looking for within an investment. It's kind of like when you want to go buy a house and you get the super cheap house, but then you're able to rent it out over a period of time, and then you could sell the house later for more money. I think that's kind of like how this is structured to be, where you can actually receive some sort of income while owning the creator's coin. And I also think the other thing might be is I'm curious to see how the hype of NFTs built factors into the price that's going to be built in. So I'm kind of curious to know, like, if this may become like a serious income stream for people, maybe the top daily creators list is going to change significantly because people are going to be able to make money along the way from hodling these coins. And also another statistic too will be the average length in which these coins are being held. So seeing the data between holding coins of NFT creators versus just like random accounts, I'm gonna assume that these NFT creators, that their accounts people are gonna hold their coins for longer, and that might actually help with the whole buying and selling of coins, because I think if you just buy coins early, you'll be able to make enough money in the return at some point on some of the successful NFTs where, just holding the coin is just sustainable income. And I think we're going to start to see that.
Yeah, I've already started to see NFT artists' coin values go up. Like I've noticed that a lot. Like if you compare somebody who's creating NFTs on, say, an OpenSea or Rarible to just a normal person who doesn't have NFTs anywhere, the NFT artists' coin value is a lot higher. So I think people are already starting to recognize that this is kind of going to be like the future. And, getting into NFT creators early is going to be a good move because you're going to receive some of those commissions when they mint some NFTs and sell them on BitClout. I also think it's a good point to recognize that NFTs don't actually have to be digital art. It could be anything. It could be a musician selling tickets and creating NFTs for the tickets. And then their coin holders can get a commission of all their ticket sales. So there's a lot of different use cases that I think people are going to kind of reimagine as NFTs come to BitClout.
And I think that this is going to change the way for the industry moving forward, right? So like once people start to make money and receive dividends, then everybody else is going to have to include this feature moving forward because they've set the precedent that allows this sustainable income, or I don't want to call it sustainable, but this ability to receive something while holding, right? Rather than staking a coin, rather than receiving interest, like a BlockFi, for example, right? It's a completely different ballgame where these creator coins have value on top of the price. And it's going to be interesting to see how the hype factor of whatever the NFT is that they're selling can be built in. I'm personally not a huge NFT guy. It's not that I don't believe in them. It's just that I don't know how to value them. And I also don't, for me personally, I just don't have a use case to own them. But it does intrigue me that there are going to be successful people out there that are NFT artists, but what makes that NFT successful? And that's just going to be what everything else is today: branding, marketing, and how these platforms are built out to allow people to obtain them, sell them, transfer them, do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, all great points. So tell us about yourself. How did you stumble about, I guess, BitClout, and how do you get in so early? And who do you know and who don't you
know? Yeah, so I think, okay, so like kind of the rundown of how I found out about BitClout. So I'm an LP in a bunch of VC funds, about three of them that were looking at the project. Kind of understood the idea slightly, but I didn't understand the creator coin part. I really just was in on the social token aspect, found out that they were allowing some angels in. So there was an angel investor kind of, I don't want to say rounds, but there was just allocations for it. Went in on that because I believed that social tokens were the thing. I didn't have any idea that I knew about these reserve profiles, but I didn't understand how it really works, because you got to understand it was off of that white paper. Right. So when you read it, you don't picture the UX on the site, because normally in today's world, you look at the site first and then you read the white paper. So it's really interesting to see the white paper and then kind of like 3 weeks later see the launch, or it was actually more than 3 weeks, a little over a month later, see the launch of the site that you were trying to like picture in your head for a month. And it was just, I was getting more and more excited as it was being talked about, as it was just being, there was just an increase of conversations leading up to the launch. And what I found super special about it was the idea that people had the ability to control whatever they wanted. It was not the idea that you could buy and sell these Elon Musk coins and Ariana Grande coins. It was that they had full control of their audience. If you have 100 million Instagram followers, you're not paid fair value, in my opinion, for an ad on a post for someone with 100 million Instagram followers. It's just my opinion. The reason why is because you don't really have access to those 100 million other than funneling it through Instagram as the middleman. Whereas here, I knew that people could build on this, and I knew that BitClout wasn't the end goal. It was the ecosystem. So making this investment was only step one, but it wasn't like BitClout's going to be the next biggest thing. BitClout is just, getting your hands dirty to figure out what is going to be needed next. And it was clearly evident to me in the first 45 days, where this platform needed to be more than Twitter, it needed to be more than Facebook, but it had something that none of these other sites had other than the decentralization, was the idea that it was so lucrative from the start, right? The bonding curve. In a way, it's very scary, but it's because it's just so steep, but it's also one of the best parts about it because it expedites the transition of people to come on board, right? Like you could bring somebody on and they just make a whole boatload of money on the first day once just a bunch of people start throwing money in, and it gets them excited. And that's kind of the part where I really got super excited about it, because convincing them that they were going to make money in 2 years or 5 years and like playing the long game was one thing, but the idea that they could come on and start executing BitClout and social tokens right away was even more important to me, because it expedited the whole talk about the space. And I think just the idea that BitClout.com was never going to be the end goal, where maybe like 4 years from now, 3 years from now, 2 years, you go on to BitClout.com, you won't be able to access it. It's just the idea that socializing is on the blockchain and that these creators can have full control of who's following them, being compensated fairly on 100 million follower post, right? I just think that these Instagrams and Facebooks are just acting too much of a middleman. You have no idea if you're paying for an ad, like what the transparency is, who the ad is going to, are all the tags being displayed? Are they underreporting? Are they over-reporting just to get you to pay more? And the more I looked at it, the more I realized how flawed the creator economy was. Speaking to like Instagram influencers, Twitter influencers, there's just the idea that they can get in the way and manipulate once they hit a certain point and plateau. It's just really hard to monetize. And I think that now you are able to choose how you want to do it. Maybe not today, but it's definitely looks very bright in the future, where with all of these apps you're seeing like on BitHunt today, all the really cool things you're going to be able to do to communicate, whether it's with your coin holders, whether it's with your followers. But the idea that you can communicate with them however you want, you have access to their names, you can create your own database through an app if you want, you can message them, you can DM them, and just get whatever you need, provides fair value compensation. And I think creators are going to start to get paid more, agencies are going to start to get paid less, Facebook is going to be in a lot of trouble, Twitter is going to be in a lot of trouble, because this is exposing the problem. It's really exposing the problem. The idea that someone can come on BitClout like Jake, like Craig, I even want to say myself in a way too, because I didn't really intend to start using my profile until maybe just a week before the Miami trip. And once I started doing it and pumped a little bit of content here and there, I realized like, oh, there's people putting serious money into me because they see value. And that's when I realized, like, if I can do this, then anybody can really do this, because this is not my job. Like, I'm just doing SPVs on the side. And, for this, it's like, this is just fun. And the idea that it was really lucrative made my message stronger to other creators, right? The idea that, like, if you can get to, let's just say a $15,000 coin price, like there's a chart that I have, it's like a bonding curve chart, and it shows you like once you hit each price point with a 10% founder reward, like the formula is already calculated. And just kind of like running the numbers, it just, each time you ran the numbers, it just made so much sense that this is the new way of creating and sharing content, and also getting and receiving and content on like the general fan side as well. It just made more sense.
Yeah, I
I
definitely
can
all
never.
knew. Go ahead, Brian. I remember you created that clown account, and
Yeah,
that was fun. I think that was like right as you started becoming more active, maybe a little bit after.
yeah,
But that was interesting. It was probably an interesting experiment where you kind of gave away a lot of coin and asked them to give it back to other people, and I thought that was a really cool concept. Ed, you have a question? Yeah, so tell us a little bit about DA5ID on your hat there. I noticed a lot of the BitClout OGs wear that hat.
yeah. So, it was a secret for a while. I guess, a few people gave it away at the party, but that David 5 account, the DA5 ID, where there's just a bunch of money loaded into, that was Naval's account that he was playing around, messing around with on BitClout. I don't know why he did it. I've never spoken to him. I know a bunch of people here in my circle that tried to get in touch with him to do our like BitClout dinners. And it was really interesting because on the first hand, the first thing that went through my mind is like, why is he creating this account? But like, he has his own account with a bunch of money loaded into, why isn't he just using Naval? And then he creates this David account, and it's just posting cryptic stuff. And I'm like, what is going on here? And you wouldn't realize that it was Naval because it was like a whale eating a shark, and then there was a shark eating a whale, and just posting these really weird messages. And I really found it entertaining. The more I think about it, though, is it good for the platform or is it bad? And I think that like that's all, everyone can kind of have their own opinion. I'm usually pretty quiet on like what I think of other investors or like other people. For me, it's just, I would have loved to have seen Naval claim his account. Love Naval, hope he does. But like looking back at it now, I just think that like the community really needs him. So it'd be amazing if he kind of claimed his account, if he's spending all this time on BitClout.
Maybe he's watching this right now and he's going to claim
Yeah,
it.
so Naval, please. Yeah, and I like so this kind of hatch turned into a running joke, and David was in the top chart. David 5 was in the top charts for a while, and still is, I guess. And I was walking around Miami too, and like people stopped me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're the BitClout guy with the David 5 hat." So I guess everybody kind of knows me because of the David 5 hat at this point, because I'm always rocking it. But yeah.
Well, see, I saw you in Miami with that hat on before I met you. I'm like, wait, is that really David 5 ID?
People thought
And
it
then
was
I
me.
met
Funny thing, too. Like people thought it was me, and I was like, that's definitely not me.
you.
That is definitely not me. I'm not putting millions into one creator coin. It's definitely more to be spread out over time.
Well, I guess it's pretty good right now. I know you're short on time, but do you have any like closing words, what you expect to see in the future? What any final thoughts about BitClout in general?
Well, yeah, I think like it was also be like kind of curious to like have this discussion, because we're at like a really interesting phase right now where we're at this point where there's an exchange, there's an off ramp, there's not much of a buy and sell market. Like that market needs to mature in order for them to create like a consistent market price on a consistent basis. And one of the challenges now is like the idea of activity on the platform, what you can do. I think the question that I always get is, what can you put on BitClout? How can you create? And for me, I'm just myself. Like I don't have like an agenda anymore of like, I'm posting X, Y, and Z. You guys have done a phenomenal job at just like keeping the community engaged and just being you. And I think that that's kind of like what this is about. But the growing pain here is, activity's definitely kind of like gone down the last few days. And I'm just trying to, be as bullish as ever. I'm super bullish. And I just want everyone to know that this is all part of it. And in the crypto scene, the blockchain scene, you have to be able to control your emotions during the the bearish moments, because when it's super bullish, you're super bullish, and you're letting a coin price deter you when the market, the general market overall is down. And a lot of the big investors have made a lot of money so far on BitClout, so they're already up, whereas with the other positions that they have, they might be down, or they may not have as much of a gain. So the one message, I guess, that I've been trying to relay to people, and it's good to do it here, is you just don't get the coin prices tied up with what this platform has in the future, and what the other apps, the potential the other apps have in this space, because the coin price is just a price. It has nothing to do with the functionality and how people are going to be able to transact and create and share and communicate.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of drama over the last couple of days, based mostly on coin price and people being too concerned about it. And we've said, don't concentrate on your coin price. The creator coin is meant so that creators can earn revenue from having their coin purchased. Like, don't even worry about when it's sold, because that doesn't figure into the equation. You're making money when your coin's purchased. So I think that people just have to figure out what it's all about and kind of take the ego trip away out of the whole equation, I think.
And just like to kind of respond to your point, right? One of the things that really kind of, I don't want to say bothers me, but like I feel that it's not really the point, is the idea that everybody is a creator, right? Like you can go on BitClout and be a user and just look at these creative accounts, and whether it's a meme account or Hunt Sauce, Krasenstein, like there's so many really cool accounts to follow, but you don't have to force yourself to become a creator. I understand that it's tempting, but the idea that there's just like this large amount of creators on a platform right now is somewhat true and somewhat untrue, just because we're classifying everybody as a creator when you have a coin price next to you. And you don't have to do anything like to force yourself to create, because I think it just kind of leads to a lot of drama, and it leads to a lot of scams. Unfortunately, I hate that word, but it is true. And you just kind of have to hang in there and do what's best for you. I just think that a lot of people are getting tied up in this whole I'm a creator game. And if you want to call yourself a creator, that's completely fine, as long as you're like, that's what you want to call yourself. But I also feel like people are really trying to figure out ways to call themselves a creator, and that's causing a lot of this drama, I guess to say.
That's very well said. I couldn't agree more. I think that's something that the community is going to kind of have to come to a realization of over time. And I think over time, like, what's taboo and what's appropriate and what's normal on the platform is going to evolve. Like, are you supposed to sell your own coin? Are you supposed to own a lot of your own coin? Like, that's kind of changed a lot from the start till where we are now. And I'm sure it's going to evolve more as time goes on.
And changes can always be made, so you have to always be prepared to adapt to them, right? Like in the beginning, it was your founder reward was in your creative coin, but now it's like you have liquidity right off the bat, right? And so there's a strategy behind it if you're a creator, right? Every time money comes in, are you putting it back in your own coin? Are you just saving it? Is that your stream of income? I also feel that once the NFTs come along, this conversation is going to be completely wiped away, because the focus is going to be shifted on something new. So from where we were on March 12th to today, think about the recycled ideas that we've all had that have kind of like gone in circles. And the idea of it is that it's still super early. If someone told you on March 11th, the day before the launch, that we'd have the amount of celebrities who've claimed their account to this day, the amount of daily users, you'd be like, wow, I would do this deal 100 times. Not because of the coin price, not because of the activity, but because of the user adoption so far. It's actually really strong. We've set these really high expectations for ourselves, and we've gotten really deep into this community. And like, again, my biggest piece of advice is just kind of wipe out the noise and focus on the ecosystem, focus on the projects, focus on BitClout and what it can do. You don't actually have to be posting to consider yourself a BitClouter. You don't, like, most of the stuff that I do in the space has not, like, I don't really go on Clubhouse that much. I don't really go, on Discord that much. I really do whatever I can to stay away from it, because I see myself being able to contribute more into the space on the outside than on the inside. And you could do a lot on the outside. In fact, you could probably do more on the outside than the inside in today's world, given what's out there. And so the idea is that BitClout is just BitClout today and maybe in a year, but this community that we have here is far more than BitClout today.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to end off. And thanks for coming on our show, Reed. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the future.
Thank you, appreciate it.